Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Demand. Today we're so excited that you're with us. We're going to share something profound for you guys. You know, with our car, we have a particular maintenance plan. We know in 3,000 miles, you go and change the oil. We know in 10,000 miles, you usually do a tune-up of your vehicle. And then the maintenance plan changes for the model of your car from there on. But I'm wondering, why is it that we don't have a maintenance plan for ourselves, for our marriage, for the things that we desire to accomplish in our life? We're going to get into that right after we get back.
That's called dating violence. I found out that I was pregnant. I was homeless, and from chaos, that faint plus sign turned into a sign of hope for me. Maybe Unplanned is a book I wrote really for the 17-year-old me. Remember that life is not over. It's only going to be different than you imagined it.
Hey guys, welcome back. You know, what we're doing is we're going to talk about something that we've been working on actually for probably about 15 years, and it's called the Vision Retreat. And so if you want to ask the question, what is a Vision Retreat? Right? If we're standing in an elevator and I tell you, yeah, we do this Vision Retreat, we get away, myself and my wife for a weekend or so, 4 days, and we just retreat ourselves. What is a Vision Retreat? And my answer would simply be, a Vision Retreat is getting away for a set time of days to pray, talk about our family future, set goals, and how we can achieve them all in agreement. Mm-hmm. So in other words, it's our maintenance plan for our vision, for our family vision, for our future, and for our marriage. So we go every year and we have what we call this Vision Retreat. And so we want to talk to you about that because we're actually developing a manual, 2 sets of manuals, one for the beginner and one for the advanced. Yes. So go ahead and share our story about that.
So the first few years, we were newly married. We realized that we're a blended family, even though we weren't calling ourselves a blended family, right? That's a whole other story. But realizing that we came from a single parent home, we came from divorce, we came from dysfunction, and there were things that we needed to do that were going to ensure our success, our togetherness, our longevity 10, 20, 30 years into the future, because we were not about to put all this investment into get married, plan a wedding, plan a marriage essentially, so that we can then see it go to nothing, but go up in flames. A lot of times I tell couples that are getting married, I'm so excited that they're getting married because that's a big decision. And it's an honorable decision. When a couple spends so much time and investing in the wedding, but they don't invest into either premarital counseling or they're doing something for themselves emotionally and relationally, then things are kind of out of balance. Because at the end of the day, when that wedding day is over, everybody's going to go home. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You and me, we're going home together. Mm-hmm. And the next day we're going to wake up together and mm-hmm. again and again and again. And so we want to make sure that we're going to have longevity. So all of that to say, that's why we started the Vision Retreat. I think our very first one was a few years into being married. I
think 5 years.
Yeah. And man, we were so excited. We had caught this idea from Pastor Jimmy Evans, but we didn't know. And so Mark went ahead and created this amazing, very in-depth manual, which honestly at that time, that's what we needed because we really needed structure. We had never done this before. And
we needed the foundation.
Yeah.
We needed the foundation to build upon. We didn't go at it blindly. We actually took the time. I spent a lot of time researching what can be done, how we can share things, and what are the key things that we need to share. What are the key things that we need to talk? Because we did go through premarital counseling. Yes. We went through a whole manual on that, and it was great. It made us have conversations that we would never have had because we're lovey-dovey. We're all about the wedding day and stuff like that, and so we don't really pay much attention to the other conversations, such as who's handling the finances, which we're going to talk about in another episode. Who is going to, how many children are we going to have, or dare I say on camera, how many times we're going to have sex in a week. You know what I'm saying? And so those things, those conversations generally do not happen when you're dating.
Yeah.
But we had to have that. So we had that foundation, but as when we put the rings on our finger, after that, we needed to build a separate, if you will, foundation, or fortify the foundation that we already had, better said.
Because now it's real life application.
Correct. Before we start putting studs up, and, and continuing to grow as we grow in a marriage. And so we made it, we were very purposeful in doing it that way. And I was very purposeful when I designed it to make sure that, we dialogue about things that we've never dialogued about, even in that premarital counseling. And we delve into things that we needed to talk about, that we needed to hash out. And even at statistically, people say the first 3 years of marriage is the toughest, because you're getting to know each other. You're now combining things, you're kind of combining your lifestyles, and you have to adjust, you have to let go of certain things to embrace new things. And so those first 3 years are very tumultuous. They are filled with arguments and disagreements sometimes. But if you press on through, when you get through there, you start to get into a rhythm. And so the fourth or fifth year, it's interesting because a child is thought about that way as well. The foundation of that child is in the first 5 years. Yeah. And they somewhat become set in their ways for the rest of their time, what happens in those first 5 years. And so we did that on the actually probably close to the anniversary of our 5 year anniversary, after the 5 year anniversary, because it was late in the fall or even winter. And so I think God put it right where it needed to be for us to continue forward and have longevity in our marriage.
Absolutely.
That we're now, 20, 21 years old, 21 into this thing, 21 years into this thing called marriage.
And as you can tell, we still like each other.
Indeed.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I feel like right now we're in a part, because life is always a process of sowing and reaping. Mm-hmm. There is no sowing only season, reaping only season. You're always in the process of sowing into the future and also reaping from things that you've done in the past. Mm-hmm. And so right now, even though we are doing things proactively behind the scenes, that we're sowing and projecting toward our future, but also I feel like the life that we're living now is us reaping the fruit of all those years that we spent doing that.
I want to give a caveat. Although we have done this, and we've done this for now 15 years on an annual basis, sometimes even twice a year, depending on what's going on in our life, that doesn't mean we have a perfect marriage. So please don't think that, we're walking in the clouds as far as our marriage is concerned, because it's not the truth. We just put things in place to help us get through those challenges that happen in our marriage. And so that's something that has helped us. You have an excellent scripture for this. Go ahead.
Yes. Every time we read it, every year, let me just say this, every year our Vision Retreat has looked a little different, because seasons of life have looked a little different, and we have needed to do things differently. Mm-hmm. Not every year in a marriage is going to have the same challenges or look the same or even have the same goals. And so this is one scripture that we're like, okay, well, maybe it's time to update that scripture. But every time we read it, we're like, yes, that's it. Okay, so it says, Galatians chapter 6, and this is the Message version. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you've been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. You want to talk personal responsibility? We are big believers in personal responsibility. So that last line is just like, man, it drives the point home.
Yeah, it does.
Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life.
The creative best is probably the thing that stands out to me the most.
As a creative.
I think one of the key things is that to me that speaks in the volumes of how we have our free will, and so our free will gives us the creative ability to put those things that we know God has called us to do, and do our best that we can creatively the way we believe it to be, and move on forward with that. And I think sometimes we often get into pigeonholing ourselves and thinking that it has to be this way. It's totally this straight tightrope type thing, and not creativity involved. And I know we said it in the previous episode somewhere, but we're not that powerful. We're not going to be able to thwart entirely God's plan based on a creative decision that we believe God is telling us to do. Now, I'm not talking about rebellion. I'm not talking about disobedience. So please don't get me wrong or misquote me. I'm talking about a creative liberty that we take, believing this is what God is telling us to do, and we move forward on that. I don't think we're able to thwart God's plan because of that.
Yeah, I think that if we're always leaning into Him, then sometimes we're so. I think there's a phrase called. It's something about being paralyzed by analyzing. It's like you want to gather so much information before you make the next move, and that we don't make the move. And I think that's where our biggest mistake is. A lot of times we think our biggest mistake is in making an actual mistake, in failing. But, and so because we're so afraid of that, we don't move at all. And so in my personal opinion, that is the greater mistake.
Absolutely.
Because at least if you're moving forward, number one, you're moving forward. At least if you're moving forward, even if you stumble and fall, again, you're still moving forward. And God can use those as teachable moments.
Yeah.
But if you're just like stuck on the edge and you think I'm not going to jump. And there have been many times in this Vision Retreat where we walked away realizing God was asking us to jump. Whatever that looked like. Whether it had been move across state lines, grow our family differently than we expected. Make major family and ministry decisions. We have walked away from those Vision Retreats going, okay, we're standing at the edge.
Yeah.
It's time to jump.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me from the Vision Retreats is the fact that God has always pushed us in every single one of them. In every single one of them. He's always pushed us to grow. He's always pushed us to believe in Him more, and make decisions that would not match the logic of man, but really believe Him and what He's telling us to do. And so all this to say that the Vision Retreat is really making sure that we're hearing the voice of God. Yeah. It's a time for us to get away and disconnect from everything except each other and God. And that's it. And we get together with God, we get together with each other. And we've always seen that throughout these 15 years of doing this, we've always seen that God has been consistent in the way He communicates with you individually and the way He communicates with me individually. There have been times that both of us have woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, back to back to each other. There's times that she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll stay in bed till 7 in the morning. But even at that, when we come together, God still honors our presence together and the covenant that we have with each other, and then brings His presence in to show us that He is still in the midst of what we're doing, and He's still in the midst of the plan that He has for our lives. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this, and we're going to delve deeper into this, and we're going to share some things that are in the Vision Retreat manual that's going to be coming out soon. We'll be right back. Tell the Father in your own words, I'm ready to believe big. Prosperity is the condition of being successful or thriving.
Welcome back. So we've been talking about the Vision Retreat, how we have done it. So many years we did it for our own personal selves, that we had the liberty to, morph and adjust and things like that. Soon on our website, you're going to be seeing, depending on when you watch this recording, but you're going to be seeing resources on our website so that you can go and do this yourself, you and your spouse. So when I think back of the very first one, which was a milestone. Then there was one that you did with you and Ricky. There's one that we have been on with other couples, where we have taken on another couple alongside of us. And that's always cool to watch, because for us to do it, it is our custom, But then to see another couple go through the process and their eyes open and they're like, wow, I've never thought about this. We've never talked about that. Or again, they need to make big family or ministry decisions. And just to see that was birthed out of that time. There was one couple, actually, now that I think about it, we brought them with us and they were in the process of making major ministry decisions. Mm-hmm. But what I'm remembering the most is that the wife, she really had a major life-changing encounter with the father at that retreat. Yeah. And so that to me is very special.
And they're in ministry right now, and they're growing, flourishing.
They are.
And they're doing great things for the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much there's the way that you're going to see the workbook online is it's divvied up into sections. Mm-hmm. One of my personal favorite sections is what I need. I think it's called What I Need from You. And pretty much you're just going through, it's like starter sentences. They're like writing prompts. And some of the writing prompts are like, I love you because, or I feel the most respected when you, or one of the other one is, when I'm having a bad day, this is what I need you to know. Because I think, again, we do, just because of the busyness of life, we do take things for granted, or maybe we don't feel appreciated, or maybe we don't even think, oh, this one little thing I do, it's not a big deal. But to your spouse, they're like, wow, that really means a lot to me. And you walk away going, wow, this was really an enlightening exchange.
See, to me, as a man, that's one of my favorites, as a man.
Explain.
Because as a man, we always hear that the man has no idea what his wife wants. So here's an opportunity to get into a very intimate moment, open, intimate moment with your spouse, and have her tell you exactly what she needs from you. There is no. I'm careful to say this word, but it's almost moronic to not include it because it answers that inevitable question that so many men have. What exactly do you need from me? Yeah. And so here it is. Yeah. I'm telling you. Now, the challenge, I think, for most men is the fact that they don't know how to reciprocate that. And so, because women are more emotionally ingrained than men, it's hard for us to share with you, when I'm having a bad day, this is what I need. Most of them will probably say, just stay away from me. But that's really not what they need. It's something a little deeper that they need, but they're unable to express that. Mm-hmm. So our hope is that within this exercise that you would do within the manual, called, what I need from you, that it opens the gates, if you will, for both husband and wife to share with each other what they actually need from each other, so that they can progress forward. Because
here's the thing, even if you get stuck, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because it means I don't know the answer, and I have to be alone with my thoughts of why don't I know this answer about myself. And then the other part that I don't want to forget to mention is that at the end of every exercise, there's a kind of like a call to action to exchange. So that's why, he keeps mentioning that. So at the end of every exercise, you're taking the guessing out of a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. This is how I feel about this. And I can almost kind of hear like men going, I don't know how I feel. I don't want to talk about feelings. I mean,
it has to happen, guys. It really has to happen. And I really hope you don't think of me any less to be able to share my feelings. But I think if you want your marriage to be successful, if you want your spouse to really be your best friend, then you have to do it. You really have to open yourself up. I am constantly astonished of how other men talk to other men about their problems, but they can't find it to talk to their wife. I'm astonished because of the simple fact that, this person's supposed to be my best friend. Granted, I can have other male friends. I can have other good male friends. But the stuff I really share, the stuff that really gets my heart, the stuff that really irks me, if you want to call it that, she has been designed, she has been brought into my life to carry the weight of that and to share that discussion, because in the same way that she would share with me. In the same way that I provide that level of security for her, I need to be able to allow her to provide that level of emotional security for me, to be able to talk about those things. So one of my favorite ones from the manual is actually called Relational Levels. And it talks about, uses the tabernacle as a type and shadow of how those relational levels are established. So you have the outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies, those three aspects, and those relationships that go within each and every one of them. And having the person, the spouse, one another, define who are in those roles makes it very clear to one another who is allowed in those particular areas. So, example, the Holy of Holies, the only person that should be there is your spouse and God. All right, and then from the holy place, those are people that you're intimate with, those good friends that you have that you can share with. Your children are there, okay? And then the outer court is probably more of those friends that you have, and then beyond the tabernacle, those are people that you just, hi, how you doing, that type of thing, And so you define those things. You allow yourself to define that, and when you do define it, you're able to see where each person falls, and you're able to draw those boundary lines, especially if you're in ministry leadership, because those boundary lines are extremely important. And so that's why I personally like the relationship level exercise.
Mm-hmm. There's, and it also clarifies expectations, because if my expectation is that you need to be spending time with me, or you need to be doing such and such for me, but we're off in what we perceive as who should be in what category, right, then that shows us why we're off. And so honestly, I think a lot of the workbook is designed on making things plain to one another so that the expectations can match. And
a discussion can occur if needed.
Absolutely.
A deep discussion, and perhaps even to the point of arguing or disagreeing. Healthy disagreement is healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's possible to have that, and it opens a dialogue for discussion and helping you. Because, for example, if I have somebody in that holy place that she doesn't agree with, there's probably a reason why, and there's probably a reason why I have that person there. But if I can express it to her, then she'll never understand it, and she'll look at that person from a different aspect and a different perspective because of what I've shared with her. But I need to allow her to voice that concern.
Yeah.
And if I need to adjust that person out of that particular area, then I do so. And so that's because the marriage is more important than that particular relationship, right? So.
And actually what you just said was key. It gives voice to. The whole Vision Retreat, really, if you think about it, it provides a space for your voice.
Yes.
There's a scripture that I just wanted to read real quick. It's Proverbs 16:1. A lot of times, people poke fun at planning all the time. There's a phrase out there, tell your plans to God and he'll laugh, something to that effect. And sometimes a lot of people kind of, they don't give planning a lot of priority because they think, well, why am I going to make a plan if it's all going to get trashed anyway? But that's erroneous thinking. That's not correct. If you look just in Proverbs alone, the word plan comes up over and over and over again. And we always tell people God has a plan for your life. I've heard that. I can't even tell you how many times. God has a plan for your life. And if we really believe that, and we understand that we are created in his image, well, as his kids, we're going to be planners too. Like, it just makes sense to me. Now, that being said, having a plan doesn't mean that you're going to be so rigid that if it's not in the plan, you don't do it. It's one thing to be focused, and then it's another thing to be rigid. So just to touch on the scripture real quick. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So the Vision Retreat is for you to make some plans as a family and to wait on God and to say, hey, this is what we are thinking. God, what do you think?
Can I just add, because if you continue reading, it says exactly what you just said.
Okay.
Verse 2 says, all the ways of a man are clean and innocent in his own eyes, and he may see nothing wrong with his actions. But the Lord weighs and examines the motives and intents. He doesn't say no to it. He weighs it, examines the motives and the intent of the heart, and knows the truth. And then verse 3, commit your works to the Lord. Submit and trust them to him. And your plans will succeed if you respond to his will and guidance. Not his plans, your plans will succeed.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Not God's plans, your plans will succeed.
You probably need to rewind that. I know we're running out of time, and I really want to get this quote in there. It's a quote we want to keep in the workbook, but this is by Lori Beth Jones. She's an author and an entrepreneur, and she says, remember, there is only one heart that you are responsible for pleasing, and it does not beat in any human breast. And that we can try and please other people to no end. But really, at the end of the day, all of this planning and praying and seeking is so that ultimately we can be pleasing to the Father.
And those plans go before the Lord.
Yeah.
Every single time that we've done it. We've always closed before we leave from our vision retreat. Father, these are the plans that we believe you've given us. We're submitting them to you. You tell us, you lead us, and things that don't get accomplished, we're just going to understand that aren't on the part of the plan, aren't part of your plan. And so we have run out of time. But I hope this has been a blessing to you guys. Very soon you'll see the link to be able to download and to purchase the manuals for your own personal use. I hope it's been a blessing to you. Until next time, as we say here in Dominion Today, God has created for you for Dominion Today. We love you.